Guys, before we start this video, we're literally so close to hitting 10,000 subscribers over on my second channel, which I just created. I would so love if you could go over and subscribe. It would mean the world. I love that channel. It's like my little Finsta page, so it'll be linked below. Go subscribe if you want. It would really mean a lot. We're getting so close to 10,000 subscribers, which is crazy because it took me literally like 9 years to get that on this channel, and literally it's been, you know, like a couple days, and like, so I'm really grateful, but please go over and subscribe if you haven't. I would appreciate it. On with the video, bestie. Hi, my besties. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to be doing a video on Colleen Ballinger. Now, for this video, of course, I'm going to be putting aside all my fucking personal opinions and stuff like that, just because I was getting a little bit called out that people were like, hey Adam, why aren't you covering, you know, Colleen speaking out about the influencers whenever you would speak out against, you know, anyone else speaking out against it? And I thought, you know what? Fair point, and I don't want to ever, you know, hold back on talking about certain people rather than other people, because then your channel is just going to become you talking about, you know, the same rotation of people. I completely get it, and I'm listening, and you know what? I'm going to do it. So, this story is actually coming directly from Def Noodles. Dennis, he reported this, and I saw it. He reported on this, not reported this. He did this, and I was getting sent it a lot, and I'm going to talk about it. And so, I've watched a little bit of this video. I haven't watched the entire clip that I'm going to be showing you of Colleen actually speaking out against these influencers. We're going to talk about it. She's getting a little bit called out for this as well, but for the main part, I think I agree with what she's saying. So we're going to get into it, and you know, just let's not jump ahead of ourselves. Let's get into it. So hi. Ooh, I just had a Red Bull. How are you doing? I hope you're doing great. My current sight beside me is 2 lattes from McDonald's, a double shot espresso, and a Red Bull. Let's not. So as you're aware, the basis of what we're going to be watching from Colleen is a clip in which, you know, she's calling out influencers and her peers. At the end of the day, this is her peers, you know, for being irresponsible during this pandemic. And I have to say, I get so happy whenever, and it is honestly the bare minimum, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I get so happy regardless of who it is, said YouTuber or said influencer speaking out against, you know, what is their peers and their friends or whatever for fucking up and doing the wrong thing during this pandemic, because I think it really shows where they stand, and I think that's really important. And especially whenever you have a young audience like Colleen does, it's going to show her audience where she stands. And I think that's, at the end of the day, like, what more can you ask, especially during a situation that's as intense as a fucking pandemic we're in. Nikita Dragon, I'm looking at you. James Charles, I'm looking at you. Tana Mojo, I'm looking at you. Jake Paul, I'm looking at you. You know what I mean? Like, the list can go on and on and on. So I think at the end of the day, the more that these YouTubers speak out against their fellow YouTubers or speak out against, you know, influencers, the better, because it's also going to let the audience know, as I said, where they stand. But just that, you know, this is not okay, what's going on, and I'm happy about it. So again, thank you Dennis for posting this clip so that we could watch it on here. Love you, Dennis, on this channel. Okay, let's get into it. So here we go.
I remembered what I wanted to talk about this morning when I was like, I wanted to talk about something, I forgot. I was annoyed because I keep seeing people say like, all influencers are so selfish, they're all just partying and traveling, and they don't care about this pandemic and all this stuff. I was so annoyed because, am I the most popular influencer? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I am a social media influencer, and it bothers me that I have literally been in my home for 10 months. I do not go anywhere. I don't even go to the grocery store. I've been...
Oh, actually, sorry. Before it goes on any further, I do actually want to give credit where credit is due to the fact that, I'm going to be really honest, these days I don't really keep up with Colleen and her content. However, I am aware that she's one of the few who is staying her ass at home and is abiding by these lockdown and these rules. And the fact that she's able to still continue making content, you know, at home, and making content where it's not putting other people at risk, and just surrounding herself by her family and friends who, you know, aren't breaking any rules. Credit where credit is due, and there should be more of this on, you know, this platform, and especially someone who is, you know, like a YouTube veteran like this. It's good to see that they're still, you know, standing their ground and not being like, oh, you know, we're 9 months in now, like, maybe I'll just, you know, go out a little bit. Like, you know, someone who keeps their word. So again, credit where credit is due. Sorry, I'm gonna let it play and not disrupt. So here we go again. Sorry, I apologize.
I remembered what I wanted to talk about this morning when I was like, I wanted to talk about something, I forgot. I was annoyed because I keep seeing people say like, all influencers are so selfish, they're all just partying and traveling, and they don't care about this pandemic and all this stuff. I was so annoyed because, am I the most popular influencer? Absolutely not. Absolutely Absolutely not. But I am a social media influencer, and it bothers me that I have literally been in my home for 10 months. I do not go anywhere. I don't even go to the grocery store. I've been completely isolated. My son hasn't had a single play date since March. He hasn't seen other children. He doesn't have friends. I don't take him to the store. Like, he doesn't remember what a grocery store looks like. He doesn't know what a Target looks like. My son hasn't been in a museum since before he could walk. He hasn't been to a playground. Like, I have sacrificed so much in my life and in my son's life to stay home because I'm privileged enough to be able to stay home and keep people safe. I want to do that because the numbers are so bad. And, like, we don't have hospital beds in Los Angeles. Like, they're putting...
Thank you. I'm glad that she's addressing that about the hospital beds too, because they all seem to fucking forget that point as well.
In the gift shop. And if you think, well, I already had COVID, or it doesn't matter, like, it's old people, whatever, like, it's so selfish for so many reasons. But you also have to think about how now they can't treat other patients because they don't have hospital beds. So if my son trips and, God forbid, like, breaks a leg or needs stitches or something, I have to be terrified, one, that we could catch COVID going to the hospital, but also they probably couldn't even take him because they're so full and they're so busy because everyone's being so reckless and doesn't care if they catch COVID or not. And COVID is dangerous and is killing people, but also people who just need to go to the doctor for regular things, people who are high risk people with any sort of situation that someone could have that needs medical attention, like they're all now screwed because they can't go to the hospital if they need to go to the hospital. Like, it's such a disaster. Anyway, I was bothered because, like, I do feel like I've sacrificed so much to keep my family safe and keep others safe, and I know I'm lucky and I know I have a really good life.
Okay, and that's actually a very interesting point as well about, you know, if something happens to you or your family, like, what are you going to do with, you know, the fact you can't go to hospitals? And Trisha said this, where she had to take her mum, like, way to, like, another state or something like that, you know, because she needed to go to the hospital, but obviously she wasn't able to bring her to the one in LA where they live because they have no hospital beds and they're out of, like, ICUs and stuff. And this is a point where these influencers here going out are being like, we're getting tested and stuff. It's like, at the end of the day, that's not the biggest argument here. It's a really big one. You know, you're wasting, you know, testing kits so you can go and do a TikTok dance or go and do a YouTube video. It's like, that's not even the biggest thing. It's like, heaven forbid something happen. There's no hospital beds to accommodate for that anymore, and you're just growing to the added pressure that's on hospitals and on these healthcare key workers. So let's hear the final one here. Here we go.
Sacrificed a lot to do that, and I miss life. I miss my friends. I haven't seen my friends. I haven't seen any family except for my parents and my siblings. I have not gone anywhere. I haven't traveled. I haven't done anything. It really just annoys me when people go like, every influencer, they just don't care and they're also selfish. I'm like, no, there are influencers, but I have sacrificed a lot to do that. And
is that the last clip? Yeah, it is. Okay. So 100% everything she's saying there is, like, the right thing I believe a YouTuber should be portraying to their audience. I think it'll have a big impact on especially a younger audience that we are so deep in this shit, and you know what, we have to keep it up, and it's the reality. So that is all well and good. Great, I'm really happy she said that, and I think it will do very good, and I'm glad that, you know, she's educating her audience in that way, and also raising the argument that, yeah, there is a bunch of stigmas against, you know, influencers and YouTubers and stuff right now because a majority of them are being reckless and, you know, partying and not wearing masks and not social distancing, but there are still ones who are staying at home and creating content from home, and I think it's also an interesting conversation that it's kind of tested the creative limits for YouTubers and influencers who are staying their ass at home and creating content, and it is harder to do that whenever you're in a pandemic and you're not going out and being, you know, inspired creatively, you're seeing the same things. That's a really big argument in itself as well, and again, YouTubers and influencers are so blessed that what they can do is sit their fucking ass at home and, you know, film, hello, YouTube video. Like, they're incredibly lucky. Now, the thing that has led Colleen to get called out, and I don't want to discredit what she's saying at all, however, her being best friends with James Charles and still enabling all of James Charles's actions it kind of contradicts everything she said there, because as we know, James Charles is, like, up there with, you know, Nikita Dragun, if not above her right now, and Tana Mongeau, and even a story I'm going to be covering later, but he was attacking another YouTuber, and basically it was like Jen McAllister, and weaponizing that she also went out to deflect from the fact that he's been going out and partying and, you know, doing collabs and all like this, and it is hypocritical. And again, I think it can be awkward calling out your friends and stuff like that, so I'm not taking away from that argument. I 100% agree, and especially because James is such a force on YouTube. However, I think if you're going to come on and preach that, you know, that there are good influencers out there and you're annoyed that you can't go back to your normal life, or people can't go back to their normal life because influencers are still going out, the main person that you're friends with and, you know, like publicly supporting each other is the one that people are most angry at right now, or at least the top three. I would actually say James is the number one. Nikita's up there and Tana's up there, but with James, he's being so ignorant, calling people out and just like retaliating them calling him out, and he's like, oh, this you, like literally that's what he did. And so again, I'm seeing where that argument is, and I'm going to read you out a couple comments under this post Dennis actually did. Some people were saying that a compliment, Colleen has a family and she's a grown-ass adult. Of course she's more responsible. I 100% agree, and especially whenever, you know, she is able to take into consideration that she's looking out for not only herself but her family. Someone said, I'm glad YouTubers are speaking up. Hopefully they can get through to these influencers. And then another person said, maybe she should have this conversation with James Charles. Isn't she befriending him? Someone said, I thought she was James Charles's bestie. If you were more responsible, maybe you should talk with him, not just make a video and call out without names because your bestie is still going out and partying. Someone else said, I thought she was friends with James Charles though, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he dropped her because she doesn't have enough clout anymore. So someone else said she's only gotten to see her siblings and mom. I haven't been able to see my mother this whole time. And then I was getting sent tweets where people were like, it's so hypocritical that she's doing this and not calling out James. And I think, yeah, like, not beating around the bush, it's hypocritical. James Charles is one of the leading people right now. However, I'm just really glad a YouTuber is speaking out, and really glad someone with a big platform is, even if they're not holding these people by name responsible, just starting a conversation at least and being like, hey, I'm abiding by it, you need to keep abiding by it, I'm going to continue abiding by it. I think it's a really healthy conversation to be having with your audience during this time, and especially on this channel, we've been talking about people who've not been doing that with their audience, so finally talking about someone who is, thank fuck, you know what I mean? The conversation around James and, you know, still being his best friend and publicly supporting him, but calling out exactly what he's the leading force of right now, it's definitely a valid point. But again, I really do just hope that more YouTubers can do this and more influencers can do this, and I think we are going to start seeing this more and more because a lot of them are starting to call James Charles out by name. A lot of them are starting to reply to his tweets, like even just him, and being like, why were you deleting your tweets coming for someone else whenever you're trying to deflect from you going out? So it's going to be interesting, and it's, you know, more coming out every single day where people are seeing these people out, whether it is Nikita or Tana or James, or, you know, people straight up like James Charles doing collabs with people the entire month of December, and in the videos he has a cold and he's saying that I have a little bit of a cold, but it's okay because I got tested. Again, wasting testing kits whenever there's a limited supply of them anyway, because you test you, your team, you know, like all of this, but you're also filming videos when you have a cold, which even if you don't have it in that moment, you're showing your audience that, you know what, like not only are you meeting up with your friends and they can meet up with theirs, you have a sickness and you're meeting up with them. So if someone's like, I'm sick, oh, but James did it. Because at the end of the day, the audiences are very young and impressionable, and that's the way they look at it. And if the YouTuber in question doesn't want to acknowledge that, then we're fucked. So I think it's really interesting conversation. I want to know what your opinion is. Yeah, again, I'm really glad she's doing this, or did this. But I do think the conversation about James Charles is interesting because they're like best friends and he's the leading force. So if it wasn't for that, this would have been a completely golden video in my opinion. But I still want to know what your opinion is in this. A lot of people, again, were DMing me about this and they thought it was extremely hypocritical. But I think I'm just like, again, the bar is at fucking 0 right now, so I'm just glad at anyone speaking out and being just good and what's like a word I'm looking for, like smart, you know what I mean? Let me know, let's talk about it below. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.